Ngowi TV, informed economists and business perspective.
The G, that is government expenditure. So when the government reduces expenditure, really, the economy suffers, income suffers, multiplier effect gets reduced. So
wherever there is a budget, something which is certain that's going to happen is the tax measures. And tax measures basically is talking about how much the government is expected to collect and is going to collect. And
actually, rural poor will be much better off in this country if they can access health facility very easily and of quality.
You will see the private sector individuals will respond straight away. So when I was talking about Bagamoyo as a port, the Bagamoyo and Dar es Salaam becoming a mega two cities, like the way you have Pretoria and Joburg with Midrand.
The key issue now is we are not able to achieve the 29.5. Out of the 29.5, we managed to get only around 20. Now we are going to 31.7. That is 11.7 trillion, I call it new money. Where is it going to come from?
Per capita income, we have been told has increased, but the increase is minimal. Because to be a low-level middle-income country, we need to have an increase of about 2,000 and higher figure. It goes up to 8,000.
Last year we had the budget speech, and then when the finance bill was released, to our surprise we get some other stuff which was actually not mentioned even in the main budget, and that was included the special tax regime in the oil and gas.
I think from an industrial point of view, there are challenges around the reliability of power and also the cost of power, which would really give us a competitive advantage as a country vis-a-vis our neighbors in the region, such as Kenya and Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Ethiopia, etc.
A reduced corporate income tax rate for certain assembly activities, simplification of the rules, all good things. Obviously, life will become more expensive, excise duties will go up, but considering all of this, I think, if I may summarize it, the feeling is that there is some room for moderate optimism. I haven't seen, though, enthusiastic clapping on the tables as we have witnessed yesterday. But I think overall the feeling is quite positive.
For those of you who have not met before, my name is Heri Bomani. I'm a banker by profession, spent 15 years in the banking sector, and now I'm in entrepreneurship, primarily focusing on the property sector in Tanzania. Just wanted to make a few comments reacting to the budget speech overnight and also picking up on what some of the other panelists have been talking about. And I'm making these comments as somebody coming from the business community who sees Tanzania as being very uniquely positioned for growth, but also at a key juncture in its transition. So some of the points that have struck me over the last few weeks, and particularly in the last day or so, has been the priorities of the government. I think at the moment industrialization has been pushed as a key agenda, and we've seen the emergence of many Tanzanian corporates which are now started to export into the region, the likes of METL, ASM, etc. I think the challenge around really making industrialization take off is around a few enablers, power being one. In Tanzania, we've talked for a long time about power, the power sector achieving growth. When you look at the amount of power that's actually available, we remain at less than 1,000 megawatts in terms of consistent power, and the cost of this power is very, very high. Gas has been found. Gas is contributing to some of the power generation, but the extent to which this is really felt right through the costs of power is still quite limited. So I think from an industrial point of view, there are challenges around the reliability of power and also the cost of power, which would really give us a competitive advantage as a country vis-a-vis our neighbors in the region, such as Kenya and Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Ethiopia, etc. I think the second point is that government is focusing on infrastructure, and there's obviously been a lot of investment that's gone into ATC. There's been investment that's gone into DART, and let me talk about DART very briefly. This is really the rapid transit project which has been rolled out, phase 1, comprising 20 kilometers from Ubungo to the CBD. DART actually works. Passenger numbers per day are in excess of 150,000 who are using this channel. Traffic has been relieved in terms of the road network. So if you use Morogoro Road now, you see that it generally flows a lot better than it did 2 or 3 years ago, despite increased vehicles in Dar es Salaam. And I wanted to contrast the impact of DART, and particularly the Ubungo stretch to CBD, versus what's happening in Kigamboni, another big project which costs even more money than what was spent on that DART phase 1. But if you look at the impact to the community, the number of vehicles that are using that road, I think the passenger numbers are much lower. So it's an example of where, if the government is prioritizing where it spends its money, I think we will see that there could be greater impact to the economy as a whole. Dodoma has been another key area. Quite surprisingly, last year in the budget, Dodoma wasn't mentioned. It was announced a few weeks after the budget was launched. And even this year, I think Dodoma hasn't specifically been touched in detail. As somebody in the property sector, it's interesting to see that so many pension funds over the last 10 years have put up infrastructure, lots of commercial buildings in town as an example. And Dodoma today lacks this infrastructure. So whilst the pension funds and the likes of national housing are being challenged to review their investment strategy around these commercial projects, and to put that money into industrialization, if you go to Dodoma today, there is simply a shortage of buildings. And I think this is an area where, again, by stimulating investment, possibly looking at different strategies, one could get the likes of the pension funds and private investors to be more active in Dodoma and actually put up infrastructure and get that city to come to life. Many people wonder what will be the impact of the Dodoma move on Dar es Salaam. Well, it's about 150,000 people were expected to move from Dar to Dodoma. Dar es Salaam today is a population of 5 million. So will there be impact? To some extent there will in the short term, but this is a very small number of the overall catchment of people who commute to business and reside in the city. So I think Dar es Salaam will continue to grow. But I think for Dodoma, there's a lot of consideration that needs to be given as to how to stimulate the private sector to be more active in that space. Just a couple of other comments on the property scene. My panelists mentioned that VAT, for example, was introduced in the tourism sector, and also that government business has gone away from hotels like this one. I think there is a lack of confidence vis-a-vis hospitality sector and investments in Tanzania right now. That's the reality. I was in Rwanda 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was very visible that the Rwanda government is strategically pushing the MICE opportunity, targeting conference business. Government is heavily involved with the hospitality sector and talking around strategies to get more tourists in. Tanzania, like Rwanda, is reviving its airline. I think the policy around lack of government use of facilities like this does create challenges for some investors. But on the other hand, there was a private equity conference held 3-4 months ago. And in that forum, there were more than 100 investors who were there. And all of these investors were very keen to look at Tanzania. But I think the sector that didn't really interest them was hospitality. They're very interested in looking at commercial projects, they're looking at retail projects in Tanzania. Which brings me to the point of the legislation around derivative titles and what happens with foreigners when they're trying to get quick access to land bank in Tanzania. They can only do this through derivative titles. So again, that's probably an area where if the government is looking to stimulate investment in the property sector, there probably needs to be either a streamlining of how quickly those derivative titles are released, or a review of that policy in general. So those are just a few comments reacting on topical issues that have come out of the budget process. Thank you.